Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Long Range Corner with your host, Matt Bardeen. How you guys doing this week? Here this week to talk to you about three basic things and of course the ever-present question and answer. First thing I want to talk about, YouTube monetization changes, how that affects the larger FPV community and this channel and specifically. Then I'm going to talk about a little bit about my vacation that I've got coming up. I've got 4 weeks. I'm going to be free, so I'm going to hopefully get out and do some long-range FPV. And then the immediate topic, tomorrow I'm going up to the mountains again to recover my quad that is currently stuck in the top of a tree. So those are the three things that I'll talk about today. So let's talk about the monetization changes. I don't know, a lot of you probably have heard YouTube has changed its monetization policy. Basically, it's changed from 10,000 views to now they require 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours. And this is a fairly large problem in our community. If you look at most FPV videos, the classical flight videos, you're probably talking about 4 minutes a flight, 4 minutes a video, somewhere around there, maybe 5 minutes. On average, people watch about half, so it's about 2 minutes per view. If you do the math on that, that means you need about 240,000 views in a 12-month period to make that 4,000 hours to actually become a YouTube partner. That is probably a pretty big impediment to a lot of channels, about the monetization of a lot of channels. There's probably only a handful of YouTube or of FPV channels that actually make that kind of views. Now, if you're producing longer videos, you're going to make that a little bit easier. Right now, I have the number of views I have, number of hours I have about 1,500 hours over the past year. So, or no, sorry, 2,500 hours. So I'm about 1,500 short. That means I'm not going to be able to monetize this channel. Does it affect me too much? No, because I'm not doing this to make money. I've never thought, well, okay, at one point I harbored the hope that I could actually make money out of this, but I've since given that up. No sponsorships, no, very few people have sent me products. There's YouTube, I think I made, before I turned the monetization off, the monetization is off on this channel. So before I turned that off, I made $3.50, something like that, over 3 years. It's just insane. So I turned the monetization off thinking, why bother you guys with ads if I'm not going to make money off of it? I don't want to bother you guys. So in terms of actual effect on my channel, there's not a lot. In terms of effect on the larger community, it's going to affect some. You're probably the ones that it affects, the ones that got shut out of the program, probably aren't making the money anyway. So it's a wash. It's really nothing, no big deal. It annoys me being shut out after being allowed in, and after having spent so much time and effort on this channel. Yes, that does annoy me. But in terms of, it's just an emotional response rather than anything that's going to hurt me monetarily. So that's my thoughts on that. That's probably a lot of people. They feel like, oh, being a YouTube partner is something good. And perhaps it is, but it's not everything. So yeah, that's monetization. Right. So I've got vacation coming up. I'm going to have my sip of my beer. Somebody talking to me in WhatsApp. I'm not sure who. Yeah. So What am I drinking tonight? Fuller's Honeydew Organic Golden Ale. Pretty good stuff. I haven't had that before. It's the first time I've had it. Good English beer. Nacho says, I just quit my job to be a YouTuber. Yeah, well, yeah, go back to your job. I've really wanted to escape my job to do this, but I don't think it's not financially viable. I know how much I spend on FPV and how much I spend driving around. There's no way I could do it if I quit my job. I'd have to earn quite a bit of money from YouTube, and that's just not going to happen. So, yeah. Vacation. I've got 4 weeks of vacation coming up. Can't spend all of that going flying, unfortunately. I wish I could. But I do plan on getting out for about a week and just doing some exploring. That's really what I like. That's really what I like to do. One of the real big reasons I like to fly FPV is it gets me out and exploring new places, seeing new things. So I've got to figure out where I'm going to go. I had the inkling to go south again. I went south last year to Patagonia, and I had a really good time, apart from, spraining my ankle and losing a drone and almost killing myself on a cliff face. But yeah, other than that, I had a really good time. So I've been thinking about doing that again. I'm not really sure. I've got to put a little bit more thought into it this week. My vacation starts next week. But yeah, so I'm probably going to go south. The question is, how far south? There's a lot of places in Chile to fly from here in Talca, which is more or less the central region of Talca, down towards the south. I'd like to get down farther south, but I'm not sure I'm going to have the time. It takes a long time driving to get down there. From here to Puerto Montt, which is about the farthest south that you can drive before having to take a ferry, it's about 10 hours drive. And then the ferry is another 4 hours, and then it's just a slog down there. So most likely, I'm probably not going to go that far down. I'm thinking maybe more towards the Puerto Varas or Sonno region, because there's a lot of cool places down there that I can fly, and it's a little bit closer. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about for vacation. Fly some volcanoes, fly some epic places, maybe take somebody with me if I can find somebody to go. But yeah, that's the plan. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So, the last order of business. Have a tree. All right, yeah, have a tree. I have a quad stuck in a tree. And let me show you what happened. Hopefully this is going to work. So here's the video. Yeah, so there was a video. Basically, as you saw, I just miscalculated, ended up basically in the top of a large tree. That's a alamo tree, a poplar tree, and it's probably a good 20 to 30 meters high. So we tried getting it down. I tried rocking it out. I don't have turtle mode on my quads, which is something I've got to rectify. But yeah, I tried rocking it out, and it was just wedged in there too well to get it out. So I'm going to have to resort to more drastic measures. And what are those more drastic measures, you may ask? Well, I went out and bought some supplies yesterday. I do have 100 meters of 21 kilogram test line here. So that's good, nice fishing line that I'm going to tie to a weight. I've got a couple of fishing weights here. As you can see, these are 25 grams each, and not really my ideal choice, but those are possibilities. And then I've got a bunch of washers taped together that that's probably what I'm going to use because it's nice and compact and 40 grams, so pretty heavy. I'm going to use that. I'm going to launch that using my handy dandy tennis ball launcher for my dog. I actually bought this to exercise the dog. This is a Hyper Dog tennis ball launcher. As you can see, it's got a lot of throw on it. And not sure if you can see that, but should get a lot of accuracy with it. So I'm going to use that to launch that weight in the test line up into the tree and hopefully be able to get hit the quad or hit near the quad. Then I'm going to hoist this up, which is 55 meters of 210 kilogram line. And I'm going to attach that to the test line. So I'm going to hoist that up and pull that over, and hopefully I've got enough. I've got 55 meters of this, so hopefully that's enough to get up and back down. Fingers crossed. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to pull until the quad comes down. That may bring the branch down with it, and that may not, but that's the idea. And this is the key. I actually have to find the quad in the tree, and I'm going to take my Mavic and I'm going to fly up there, and I'm going to see if I can find it with the Mavic, because from the ground it's almost impossible to spot. So those are the elements of my rescue. Hopefully it will work. Fingers crossed. If not, the plan B is to fly a quad up there with this rope attached to it and get it stuck somewhere near there and pull until the quad breaks or the branch comes down. So those are my options. I've actually done that before. I've actually brought down a branch trying to retrieve a quad from a tree, and that was my Alien 6, and it actually survived. The Alien 6 survived, but the branch didn't. So testament to the strength of the Alien 6. Cafayate, Argentina. Most wonderful place for long-range FPV. Okay, I'll have to take a look at that. I really want to go down to the name escapes me right now. Basically, it's a lake, and is one of the only places in the world where the glaciers are growing. The glacier is growing into the lake, so you can get some really good long-range glacier shots. And I really want to do that, but that's pretty far down into Patagonia. I'd have to start from probably Puerto Natales, somewhere around there, and work my way back up. And that's probably not going to happen. Not this time. Maybe next year. I'd like to go fly Torres de Paine, but I think that's going to be impossible as well. Climbing the tree could be a possibility. Those trees are a little bit hard to climb. The branches tend to shoot straight up, or not straight up, but pretty acute angles. So it's a little bit hard to climb. I looked at thought about climbing it, but no, don't want to risk my life. Manned multi-rotor to ram into the tree. Yeah, that's not going to happen either. Record and post the rescue. Yeah, I will try to do that. I'm going to take my GoPros with me and see if I can record something and see if we get success or not. Posting will depend on the success. I'm actually hoping if we can recover it pretty quickly and I can do some more flying up in the mountains, because, yeah, I didn't get to do much flying the last time I went up. So how are you guys doing? What kind of questions do you have for me? You're about to be demonetized, Torch. Yeah, so am I, but that doesn't really bother me because I'm not monetized at the moment anyway, so... it's kind of it's more of an emotional response. My emotional response was, yeah, this isn't cool. But in terms of actual affecting me, it doesn't affect me at all, basically. I don't much earn any money off of my videos. I'm not going to earn any money off of my videos, so yep. It is what it is. So, let's see, what else have I got for you today? Not much, to be honest. Not much. I haven't done much FPV over the week. We've been working away, trying to finish up everything before vacation starts. That's the secret of university life. We have a month before the students return and a month after they go, between our summer vacation, and those 2 months are typically the busiest months because we have to do everything that we didn't do during the semesters during that period. So it's what it is. It's university life. Right now we're working on some projects. I've got a project that's just about to start where we're going to use drones to help strategize when combating forest fires. Then we're going to post to a new project here. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to post, but I've got some ideas. So yeah, that's university life. Trying to get grants so I can keep the aerial robotics lab running and keep myself employed. University. Yes, the beer, gotta have the beer. Only reason I wouldn't have a beer on a Saturday night is if I'm dehydrated like last week. My motivation is going. Row H asks, how is your motivation going? It's going. I'm starting to get a little bit more motivated. I need to get to the point where I realize, yeah, I'm not going to produce perfect videos all the time. I'm going to have to accept, yeah, some videos are going to have flaws. That's been a major sticking point. I'm kind of a perfectionist in that. I really like to have good videos, and I really like to put the time into the videos, but if I don't have the time and I don't have the motivation to produce the videos, I don't really want to release them. I'd rather release quality over quantity, to be honest. But again, that plays against the monetization. So, like I said, I don't expect to make money off of this, so I think I'm just going to release videos when I feel like releasing videos. When I feel like I have something nice to release. I don't want to be like all other channels out there, which, you know, oh, I'm flying around in park here, look, watch me fly. That doesn't interest me. I'd like to do something interesting to watch. Show you guys Chile, show you guys some exciting part of Chile. So yeah, that's a little bit of my thoughts. Mainly drone class. No, I teach computer science. I do architecture, computer architecture. I do artificial intelligence. I teach, let's see, what else am I teaching? A course called Introduction to the Theory of Systems. So I teach basic computer science courses, but I also teach a drone workshop. Well, actually a robotics workshop. And in that workshop, we actually do build drones. So the students they work in teams, groups of 4 people, and each of the groups builds their own drone from scratch. And then they have to program the drone and fly it and do something interesting with it, avoid obstacles, whatnot. So it's cool. Thanks, Dufort. I'm glad you like the live streams. It's not something that I can say I'm extremely comfortable with. I do it because I'm trying to get myself used to talking to the camera, but it's not something I really enjoy. So but I thought it's something that you guys might find interesting. You might like. I'd like to do a live build at some point. I'm going to have to upgrade my equipment to do that. Figure out how to get an overhead view of what I'm building. But for the moment, this is what it's going to be. Any other questions for me? Safe travels to you, Torch. Let's see. I talked a little bit. Hey, Dennis, how you doing? I talked a little bit last week about the TrueD, the Furious FPV TrueD diversity module, and how I was a little bit annoyed at some of the interference I was seeing. However, I was reading the instruction manual. First time I've actually read it, I think. And I saw that you had to calibrate the antennas to the VTX. So I did that. I haven't tested it yet. I did that last week after I actually read about it. So now I'm going to test it a little bit more and see if the quality gets better. Question about circular polarized antennas. Can a CP antenna be mounted inverted on the quad? Yeah, I don't see why not. Technically, let me grab a CP antenna here. I'm going to use my handy dandy 2.4 gigahertz antenna. So technically, a circular polarized antenna will emit radiation in this form. So it will emit to the top and then a little bit to the bottom. So technically, if you mount it underneath the quad, you should still get that same coverage. In fact, a little bit more. Of course, where you won't get coverage is right in the middle. There tends to be a null zone right in the middle. So when the circular, well, when any, not any, but most antennas transmit or receive, they kind of have a zone of activation that's kind of like a donut, a toroid is what they call it. And then in the center, there's a null zone. So it just kind of drops off. So that's what you get when you, if you're flying over yourself, directly over yourself, and the video cuts out or video gets bad, that's the reason why. It's because you've entered that null zone, probably for both antennas. So that's a little bit about that's a little of the theory behind the circular polarized antennas. The circular polarized part is basically it emits the signal in this form. So if you look at how these curves are located, are situated, it basically emits the signal or receives the signal along that plane. And with circular polarized, it should shoot out from each of these in turn, more or less. So that's basically the idea. And that cuts down on interference. If you have vertically polarized, then it all shoots out in the same direction. And this cuts that down. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert in RF, but that's what I've gathered from reading. Thank you. I'm glad you watched my channel because it is unique. I try to keep it unique. I don't like to do the same kind of videos all the time. I try to keep mixing it up. I like to like the last video I did was just DVR, one battery, mainly because the HD footage is still stuck in that tree. But I thought it was interesting because then you can see like what's the performance of the antennas, what's the performance of the module when I'm flying in these places, and you get a little bit more information, and you can see how many amps the quad is using and whatnot. So that's why I like to do a little bit different things each time. tree retrieval is going. I talked about that a little bit earlier, Dennis. I've got all the bits that I need here. I've collected them, and then tomorrow I'm going up and going to try to retrieve the quad. So hopefully I'll have it tomorrow evening, and I'll have some good footage for you because I've got some good flights. I did some good flights there, and some of the other locations. So I'll put together a video and release that at some point during the week. Any other questions? How many of you guys are doing long range? Thank you, Jaitan. Thank you, Mauricio. Defoe says, I really like watching DVR rather than HD. That trick of the GoPro is almost fakish. Yes and no. I like the GoPro. I don't like super view too much. I like wide. I really like my footage to be a little less distorted. I don't like the distortion from the super view. However, on flat areas, I think super view looks really nice. In the mountains, it kind of distorts the vertical, and I don't like that. Do you prefer flying alone or with a buddy? It depends. Typically, when I started FPV, I was the only one in this area that was doing FPV. In fact, I was pretty much one of the first ones in Chile that was doing FPV. There may have been some other ones doing planes with FPV. In fact, I'm sure there was. But from a quad perspective, a mini quad perspective, I was definitely one of the first ones with a mini quad. And then was probably among the first that actually built my own quad. So yeah, I've been flying a while, and when I started, there's nobody to fly with. As the years have gone by, more and more people have started popping up that are interested in this. Some of them have been my students. I've actually had 3 or 4 students that have picked up FPV because I kind of encouraged them. I had one guy, Ignacio Torres. He works with me. I hired him, and when I hired him, he said, "No, I'm not interested in flying mini quads." And now he's hooked. He's an addict. Waiting to know a lot more about everything. Defoe says he's waiting to know a lot more about everything before long range, even though he's been flying for 3 years. Well, I'm going to put it this way. The way you learn more about long range is you go and do it. I can't say that I know everything about long range. I can say that I've been out pretty far, pretty long distance. I mean, 5 kilometers is 3.6 miles. That's pretty decent distance. But there's still stuff I'm learning. There's still stuff I need to know. So you're never going to know everything. If you wait until you do it, until you do know everything, you're never going to do anything. So just get out there and do it. Do I only use 4S batteries or sometimes run 5S? I just picked up a couple 3 5S batteries from CNHL. And I am testing those. I'll probably do some tests with 6S pretty soon. I want to see how they run on some setups. My limiting factor right now is a lot of the drones I have aren't 6S capable. So that's a little bit of an issue. But I'd like to test that out to see how they do, see what the amp draw is, see what the efficiency is. Mauricio, sí, vamos a Conti. Antes, demasiado tiempo, probablemente Los primeros días de febrero, primera semana de febrero, estoy pensando de ir. Basically, I've got an idea. Talca is on a river, and that river runs all the way to the coast. It's about a 90-kilometer trek to the coast, and I want to go and do a multi-day trip with my kayak. So I bought a kayak, as some of you may know. The main idea is to use that kayak to get to places where I can't normally get with, just on foot or with a vehicle. So I bought the kayak to try to get to some of those places, and I hope to do a little bit more exploring, trekking, exploring, getting out to enjoy the countryside of Chile a little bit more. The limitation there is I'd like to go with somebody else, and nobody else I know has a kayak and is interested in FPV. So that's a little bit of a problem. But yeah, Dennis says he's hoping to start long range soon, but surrounded by trees and trees and trees. Feel like I need a decent GPS system for retrieval. What system do you suggest? The Crossfire is good if you get it with the TBS GPS, because it will record the coordinates on the transmitter, or you can set it up to record to the secure digital card on your Tyrannus, and that's a pretty decent system. Probably about the best. Other possibilities are something like a locator or a drone keeper, but at least for my use, I don't think they're completely useful. Typically, if I lose a drone, it's lost for a good period of time. So usually the batteries will die in that time at any locator device. Maybe an RFID or something like that could be useful, but something that relies on batteries isn't going to be the most practical, at least for my use. Maybe for somebody else's use, yes. So between the GPS coordinates on your Tyrannus and the locator device, you should be able to track down your drone. Let's see. New to Qua is really interested in long range. I want to start long range with low KV. Do you have recommendations for KV? Well, I'm going to give you another recommendation. You probably should do some short range stuff first. I recommend that before going out and doing long range, because if you do long range, what's going to happen is if you don't know your quad, if you don't know how to react in certain situations, for example, if you lose video or have dodgy video, if you don't know how to react, it's probable that you're going to lose a quad, and then you're going to get discouraged and you're not going to want to continue. So my advice is to start with short range and then gradually increase the distance until you get something that you're happy with. That's my advice. Now for KV, if you want to do mid-range, then 2000 to 2200 KV is really good. That's on 4S. On 5S, you could probably get away with that as well. If you want to do really, really long range, then down in the 1400 kV plus 7-inch props is a good combination. Or 6-inch tri-blade props works as well. Live in flat Florida. Yeah, that kind of sucks. It's good and bad. Maybe out on the coast would be a good place to do some long-range FPV in Florida, potentially. You always have to balance kind of interesting locations with risk. Hi, Ryan. Thanks. Ryan Wilson says he was at the Maryland Drone Summit today, and my name was brought up at least a couple times in conversation. hopefully it wasn't followed by that asshole Matt Bardeen or that asshole Chili Vuela. Working towards longer range, convenient, suitable locations is my main challenge. Jathan, that's my challenge as well. I've got locations around here. They're interesting, but they're not as interesting as the mountains. And the mountains are pretty long distance away. They're about 2 hours, 3 hours away. So, yeah, the Andes are pretty spectacular, Ryan. It's awesome. I wish I was a little bit closer. I wish I had land up there or a cabin up there so I didn't have to get up at ungodly hours of the morning to make it there by dawn. I'm really jealous of people like Bryce and Mike Virgin who have mountains really close and they can escape a little bit early and get there in time for the sunrise or not have to come back really late for the sunset. But alas, it is what it is. We have to make do with what we've got. Yeah, Dufour says he used to live in Colorado. He wished he had drones 20 years ago. To be honest, Dufour, it's pure luck that I happen to live in Chile, and just when the drone thing started to become big, and really I didn't really go to the mountains. I went to the mountains a couple times, but my interest was mainly in the coast. I've actually got land out in the coast that I want to build a cabin on. But, then I started FPVing, and wow, Chile is awesome. There's so many places, so many different landscapes. It's awesome. And it's just luck. Really, it's a stroke of luck. I'm going to attribute my success to the landscapes rather than my flying. I mean, I have to be honest, I don't think my flying is anything spectacular, but the landscapes, that's what makes my videos, I feel. I'm a landscape flyer. I like landscapes. And for those of you who worry because I'm drinking beer on camera, this is my one beer of the week. So I drink one beer a week and I drink it with you guys. Do I have Horizon or stable mode on a transmitter switch if you find yourself in video connectivity trouble? Yes, I do. I do have a Horizon mode on a switch just in case. So I can switch it and punch it if something really goes wrong. Thankfully, I've never had to use that, at least since I've had it set up, which is usually the case. If you got it, you don't need it, typically. I do recommend that, having a Horizon or stable mode on a switch. It could save your drone. I think this next week I'm going to actually spend some time building some stuff. I still have my mini drac that I need to build, need to finish. At that I've got some. I have to make a choice. I have to decide what camera do I want to put on it. So I have a choice. I can put, I have a Runcam 2 here. That was one of my choices. That was my principal choice. My first choice was I was going to do a Runcam 2. The main problem I have with that is that I kind of want a 4K, because if you do 4K, you can, if you're recording 4K, you can stabilize the footage a little bit easier. So you can stabilize the footage and downscale it to 2K or 1080p. and not lose the resolution. So I was thinking that might be a call for having a session 4 on the mini track, or a session 5. So the reason I have to decide this is because if I'm going to use a session 5, I have to cut the nose off and then print something. If I'm not going to use the session 5, then I can I have to cut out part of the nose and put in, or I have to cut out indentation for the RunCam 2. And then the other possibility is I use a RunCam split or something like that. So those are my 3 choices, and I'm not exactly sure which I'm going to do. I have a RunCam split. Actually, I have 2 RunCam split 2s coming just to test them out. I am happy to report that I did solve the problem with my RunCam split. I changed the cable over, and that got rid of the flashing. However, now there's an insane amount of latency on the RunCam split. So it seems the cable length is really important to latency. Longer cables, more latency. That's something to be aware of. Plus, when you're changing out the cable, you need to be aware of which side is up on the cable. I made some assumptions and they weren't right. So I said, yeah, they're going to be the same way on both of the connectors. And so I connected them, one side up on both connectors, the camera side and the board side, and it just gave me a red light. I was like, oh no, and nothing on my FPV feed. So I thought I had fried it. And I turned it around, flipped the cable around, stuck it in, same thing. And then I played around with the connectors until I actually got it right. And now I don't remember which side is up on which. But before you remove the connector or the cable that's there, take a look at the cable, make a note which side is up on each side. So that's advice for you on the RunCam split. So yeah, I've got 2 RunCam split 2s coming, and one of them may go into the mini track. That's a little bit of my plan. And then I want to get my QAV 540 back up and running, kind of a minimal setup there. Get my big Cinetank tuned, and because I miss flying the Cinetank. That's actually a pretty good flyer, and it does things that the Mavic can't. For example, it can go over 500 meters. So it might be interesting to take that out a little bit more, take it out to a little bit longer range, and get some really good videos from the mountaintops, some good stabilized videos from the mountaintops. So that's my plan. That's what I've been thinking for the next couple weeks, or next week or so. And then if I'm going on vacation the week after, I actually have to prepare my crap, figure out what I'm going to take. Which flight controller do I have on the mini tank? The Cinetank. Cinetank, I have the Pixhawk. I have a Pixhawk on there. Actually, no, it's not a Pixhawk. It's a HK Pilot 32. That's the Hobby King version of the Pixhawk. And I use that because it was available at the time when I bought it. The Pixhawk wasn't available for export from the US. So I bought the Hobby King version, and it's worked well for the last, I don't know, 3 years. I think I've had it. Somewhere around there. I had it on the QAV 540 beforehand. The QAV 540 never really liked, especially the gimbal setup on the QAV 540. Worst setup ever. I don't know what Luminaire was thinking, but not a fan. Basically, it used a special Tiger motor with a long shaft. The shaft was, I think, maybe a 2mm, 3mm shaft. And basically the entire weight of the gimbal rested on that shaft. So anytime you hit anything, anytime you crashed, that shaft would snap just like that. And of course, they only sold the motors. They didn't sell the shafts. So it was a huge waste of money and time, and it was horrible design. I really don't know what Lumineer was thinking when they designed that. Could I fly KISS or Betaflight on the Cinetank? Yeah, I could. Actually, I'm most likely the QAV 540 will have a KISS set up on it. I'm not sure if it's going to be a full KISS or if it's just going to be just the KISS flight controller, but it will have KISS. When I say full KISS, I'm thinking maybe KISS 24 ESCs and the of course KISS flight controller. No KISS 2 yet. No money. Not yet. Flame wheel 550, or might just do the 350 or 450. If you want to do a big quad, I'm not a big fan of the flame wheels. I find them a little bit, I don't know, cheap. I'm a fan. Let me show you here. I showed this off a couple weeks ago, but it's actually done now. This is, let's get it out here. This is one of the first quads I built for the university. And it's a design that I've stuck with for a while now. This is Turret 650. I've mentioned this before. Turret 650, it's got the multi-star 480 kV 4108 motors, 480 kV and 16-inch props. This is primarily sourced all from Hobby King, and you can put it together for about $500, more or less. So this typically runs Hobby King 32. That's what that is right there. Unfortunately, this one has died after many, many years of service. I'm not exactly sure what's wrong with it, but it when I plug in the USB, it just, the LED here just flashes red, just stays red. So something has died in it. I'm not sure what. First one I've had and the first one that's died. 3 years I've used out of it. I'm pretty happy. This, typically I have a carbon fiber plate that goes here, and I stick 2 of these multi-star 5.2 amp hour batteries underneath there, and it'll fly unloaded for about 30 to 40 minutes. So pretty good flight time. Might be a really good project for long range. Maybe take off these nasty legs and put something smaller on it so it's a little bit lower profile, and you probably have a pretty decent flying quad. Some people say different flight controller firmware is better suited to different prop sizes. Have you flown KISS with 7-inch and up? Yes, actually, my current G2 runs a KISS CC, so it works. Here in the near sea level, it works really well. Up in the mountains, not so much, but at least on the 7-inch props, on the 6-inch tri-blades, it works much better. It's much easier to tune. I did have a KISS on my QAV 540 that you can see behind me here. There you go, QAV 540. I had a KISS on that with the 13-inch props. That didn't work so well, but I suspect it was a mounting. I had a kind of a ghetto mounting on it. It wasn't really great for the flight controller. So a lot of vibes and never really flew well. Payload of the QAV, or of the turret, probably 5 kilos, probably around there. Maybe a little bit less. I typically run it with about probably about 300 grams, right around there. Basically, I use it a lot for photogrammetry applications, agricultural applications. So I stick a camera underneath there, a regular point and shoot. We've used the Canon A2200s and the Canon 210IS, XX210IS. So we don't use it with a lot of payload typically, and we don't use a gimbal on it because we want the flight time. Yeah, okay, well guys, it's getting on 50 minutes now, so quite long for long range corner, and I'm just about to finish my beer, so KISS FC on a larger bird, what do you do for GPS telemetry? I'd use a crossfire system. Again, I'd probably use a Core PNP Pro and then a 2.4 gigahertz video transmitter. That would be my my preferred setup, and that's what I have on my. Not sure if you can see it. Yeah, there it is. That Alien there. That has that setup. There's no GPS on it, but it has a Core PNP Pro and a 2.4 gigahertz video transmitter. And that will do the telemetry. The KISS will do the telemetry. The nice thing about, let me talk a little bit about that. That's the last thing. Grab this here, maybe. Diversity receiver for the Crossfire. This will actually work on the Mini RX as well. What you can do, I've got this hooked up here. There's a special cable you can make to hook this up and to your Pixhawk. And this will basically send all the RC commands over Mavlink. And it'll actually pick up the telemetry from Mavlink, send it back through the telemetry link of the Crossfire to your transmitter. Your transmitter will take that and retransmit that through Bluetooth. So you can basically get telemetry on your cell phone through Bluetooth with no extra wires. It's a really, really slick solution. If you're running a Pixhawk or a Vector or DJI, I think it even works with. I think DJI uses Mavlink as well. So very slick solution for telemetry over the Crossfire. And that works out to about, I think they said about 20 kilometers, something like that. Depends on your link, but it's, like I said, it's a slick solution. So basically, when I bought into the Crossfire, I mainly bought into the Crossfire for that, because I wanted to run long range on the QE or the Pixhawk, wherever it is, right there, or the Pixhawk. Yeah, the long range on the Cinetank and its Pixhawk. So, very slick solution. Someday I'll do a little bit of, I'll go into that a little bit more and basically maybe do a tutorial of how that works. But it's nice. It's very, very nice. Anyway, okay, I'm going to head off now. It's been about 53 minutes. That's right about the good range for the long range corner. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.